Oui. Bonjour tout le monde, good morning. Je vous invite à prendre vos sièges. If you can please take your seats, we're about to begin. Sounds okay? Welcome everyone. Bienvenue à la 8e Conférence internationale sur l'éducation aux droits humains, rapprocher nos diversités. C'est un grand plaisir de vous revoir ce matin et j'espère que vous avez profité de votre soirée à Montréal, mais pas trop. Hier, nous avons lancé notre conférence avec une bienvenue traditionnelle sur le territoire non cédé du peuple Kanien'kehá:ka, suivie par une discussion inspirante sur le rôle de l'éducation aux droits humains dans la réconciliation. Un enjeu important au Canada qui touche nombreux pays et qui peut apporter des leçons utiles pour nous tous qui travaillent dans l'éducation. Aujourd'hui, nous allons élargir la conversation pour examiner le contexte global et les enjeux mondiaux dont nous faisons face en tant qu'éducatrices et éducateurs aux droits humains. Et nous avons un excellent panel pour lancer la journée. Around the world today, we are concerned by the exclusion, discrimination, and polarization we see in all regions of the world. We are troubled by the persistence of inequality, particularly gender inequality, as well as the escalation of conflict and the erosion of the rule of law. We are dismayed that minorities, Indigenous communities, the LGBTQI community, people living with disabilities, migrants, refugees, and others face discrimination, exclusion, and violence across the world. Speaking earlier this year before the Human Rights Council, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres described it this way: disregard for human rights is a disease, and it is a disease that is spreading. Well, if the violation of human rights is a disease, then I would argue human rights education is an important part of the cure. And human rights educators are on the front line of this pandemic, inoculating communities against inequality, discrimination, exclusion, and violence. The prescription is simple: educate, empower, change. Éduquer, habiliter, changer. These three words have been the mantra for Equitas now for the past 50 years, ever since we were founded in Montreal by John Humphrey, one of the drafters of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Thérèse Casgrain, pioneering human rights and women's rights activist here in Quebec, and other leading jurists, scholars, and activists. For half a century, we've been working to advance equality, social justice, and respect for human dignity through education. Over the years, we have trained more than 5,000 human rights educators in 140 countries, and they have reached, through their work, hundreds of thousands more. In Canada, our programs have benefited more than 800,000 young people in 45 communities. We are privileged to work with a global network of human rights educators, which, thanks to this conference, is now expanding. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary under the theme, We are Human Rights Changemakers. Nous sommes le changement en droits humains. All of us in this room are human rights changemakers. This is why you have come from over 50 countries, more than 300 of you, to share your good practices and to reflect on how our work can be even more effective. We are pleased that last night and again this morning, we have an additional 40 youth participants from across the country who are part of our Canadian-speaking rights network, who are putting in practice these principles as we speak. As our conference is taking place, these dynamic young people who are seated right in front of me are sharing experiences, developing strategies on how they can engage decision makers and build more equitable and inclusive communities here in Canada. So welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. Nous souhaitons également le bienvenu à nos invités ce matin qui font partie des nombreux partenaires et amis d'Equitas ici à Montréal. Encore bienvenue à tous, toutes et à tous. Merci d'être ici avec nous ce matin. Pour cette conférence, nous avons fixé les objectifs suivants. Examiner les enjeux actuels et les opportunités existantes dans le domaine de l'éducation aux droits humains. Partager des pratiques exemplaires, des outils pratiques et des réussites en provenance du monde entier. Et explorer les stratégies d'éducation aux droits humains pour apporter des solutions aux grands enjeux mondiaux. Pour réussir nos objectifs, nous avons planifié la conférence pour maximiser les opportunités de participation. Chaque journée commencerait avec des plénières qui soulèveront des thématiques principales de la journée, mais la majorité de notre temps serait consacrée à plus de 60 ateliers que vous avez organisés vous-même pour maximiser le partage, la discussion et la participation. Je me répète, mais j'espère que tout le monde a maintenant téléchargé l'application pour la conférence. Pour maximiser notre temps avec nos panélistes pendant les sessions plénières, les questions seront posées en utilisant l'application de la conférence. Pour nos visiteurs aujourd'hui, si vous avez un portable ou un téléphone, vous pouvez aller au site web www.sli.do, et entrer le code hashtag R600 pour poser une question. Il y a une feuille d'instruction en couleur qui se trouve dans les sacs de bienvenue de tous les participants. Mais l'idée pendant ces 3 jours n'est pas simplement d'en parler des enjeux ou des stratégies. Nous attendons des résultats concrets de notre temps ensemble, et spécifiquement, ces résultats seront une banque numérique de succès et de bonnes pratiques pour les praticiens pour rendre leur travail plus efficace, et des recommandations stratégiques pour les décisionnaires gouvernementaux, les organisations de la société civile et les institutions internationales sur la façon d'améliorer l'impact de l'éducation aux droits humains. La semaine dernière, nous avons circulé une déclaration avec ces recommandations stratégiques. Nous avons préparé ce document pour profiter de cette occasion pour réaffirmer notre engagement collectif en faveur de l'éducation aux droits humains. Nous souhaitons également rappeler à toutes les parties prenantes certaines orientations élaborées et approuvées au niveau international ces dernières années, en s'inspirant des documents des Nations unies et autres. La déclaration rassemble les engagements existants et les actions stratégiques qui peuvent renforcer la pratique de l'éducation aux droits humains dans le monde. Nous vous encourageons à prendre note du contenu de la déclaration et à réfléchir pendant la conférence sur la façon dont vous pouvez contribuer à leur mise en œuvre. Au cours de la conférence, vous serez encouragés à utiliser l'application de la conférence pour partager vos engagements. Et pendant la séance de clôture, nous vous inviterons à les écrire et à les afficher sur un mur en tant que représentation visuelle de notre volonté collective et de notre capacité à construire un monde plus inclusif, plus équitable et plus pacifique. So we have a very busy program over the next 3 days, but I think we're up for the challenge. And if we commit ourselves to listening, learning, and sharing, I have no doubt that we will leave this university campus as the better people that Senator Sinclair said we could become last night. So that's our challenge, and I think if we work hard, we'll be able to meet that challenge. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Alan Shepard, who is the president of Concordia University, to come to the podium. Concordia is generously hosting this conference on their campus, and he will share a welcome on behalf of the university. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Shepard.
Bonjour. Good morning. I'm so happy to see everyone here this morning, and thank you for being with us. Welcome to guests literally from around the world. Welcome to our students. Welcome to colleagues. Welcome to the members of the board of Equitas and the staff. Welcome to members of Parliament and the Assemblée Nationale who might be with us this morning. And welcome to our alumni. If you're a Concordia graduate, welcome back. I can't think of a topic very much more important than human rights education in the current political environment globally, as we just heard from Ian. It's really an extraordinary time. It's not a time that I think most of us looked forward to, and for some of us at least, watching the erosion of human rights and feeling like the world's going backwards turns out to be a bit of a surprise. I'd like to thank Equitas for organizing the work and the conference and for their 50 years of service to humanity. That's extremely important work. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging this morning that Concordia University itself is located on unceded indigenous lands. The Gainek Haga Nation are recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters in which we're gathering this morning. Tiohtià:ke, also known as Montreal, is historically known as a gathering place for First Nations, and today it's obviously home to a diverse population of First Nations and other peoples. We'd like to respect the continued connections between past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. Et Montréal est une des villes les plus anciennes et plus inclusives de notre continent. Tout comme Equitas, l'Université Concordia incarne, à mon avis, bon nombre des plus grandes qualités de Montréal. Notre campus de centre-ville ici était autrefois la Sir George Williams University, dont le nom honorait la mémoire du fondateur du YMCA. Établie en 1926, cette université ouvrait ses portes à des jeunes de tous les horizons. We were the place that helped people who were immigrants to Canada get a university education. We were the place that helped mothers, young women who maybe had divorced their husbands and wanted a career to come back to night school. We were the people who took in people of all religious faiths and welcomed everyone, and we still do. We've been known across Canada as a progressive university for a very long time, and we're proud of that heritage, and we try to live up to it. To this day, we have about 48,000 students studying on both campuses of the university. Approximately half of them are the first in their families ever to go to university, which is also my case. And this is a powerful way to change the world. We're deeply connected to our communities through our programs of study and our public outreach and our inclusive research centers. Many of you will know MIGS, the Montreal Institute for Genocide and Human Rights Studies, which is here at the university and guided by Kyle Matthews and assisted by General Romeo Dallaire. This leadership and ideas incubator has influenced policies around the world, including at the United Nations. I would have said also in the Obama administration, but that is but a faint memory at this point. Whether we're promoting the rights of Canada's Indigenous peoples or immigrants to Canada, newcomers, the rights of women, the rights of girls, the rights of members of the LGBT community, which is also my community, of those with less financial means or any other disadvantaged person, Concordia continues its mission to provide broad access to one of the most basic human rights, which is an excellent education. And education continues to be a powerful antidote to the world's problems. Education makes hope possible. And part of that education is really nuts and bolts, clear thinking, clear writing, the ability to make arguments, the ability to assess evidence, the ability to understand what's right and what's wrong, the ability to defend notions of truth, notions of freedom. These are fundamental education skills that people gain, and they make a difference in the ability to defend human rights around the world. I just wanted to say finally, thank you very much for being with us today and this weekend. I hope you have a great conference. I hope Concordia is a hospitable host, and again, pleasure to see you.
So we're now ready for our panel, and I'd like to invite our panelists to come to the front. And our moderator will introduce the panelists, so please take a seat. But I will introduce our moderator. Alors, nous avons la chance ce matin d'avoir avec nous Azeb Walde-Georges. Elle a commencé sa carrière à Winnipeg en 1991, quand elle est devenue la correspondante nationale pour l'émission La Pointe dans les Prairies pendant 3 ans, avant de continuer son carrière dans les provinces de l'Atlantique. En 1998, elle ouvre le premier bureau de Radio-Canada en Afrique, basé à Abidjan. Et de là, elle a couvert nombreux pays et nombre de conflits sur le continent. puis, j'ai perdu ma page. Mais je pense elle est récipiendaire de nombreux prix, puis elle a aussi, dans sa carrière, eu un engagement très fort envers les droits humains, et notamment, elle a été une journaliste qui a couvert la commission sur la justice et vérité dont on a entendu parler hier soir. Alors, merci Azeb pour être avec nous aujourd'hui, et bienvenue.
Bienvenue à ce panel aujourd'hui. Je suis très heureuse d'être ici. Alors, parler des droits humains en 2017, on vit dans un monde de paradoxes, de contradictions, quand on sait qu'aujourd'hui, en Libye, il y a des hommes, des êtres humains qui sont vendus aux enchères. Et puis, de ce côté de la planète, on évolue, on développe. Il y a le droit de la communauté LGBT. Plusieurs droits, plusieurs combats ont été gagnés. Comme journaliste, j'ai couvert beaucoup de conflits, j'ai couvert beaucoup de reportages qui justement on essayait de montrer l'importance des droits humains. Quand on regarde les migrants qui quittent l'Afrique, qui quittent les pays africains, qu'est-ce qu'ils recherchent? Ils recherchent un droit de vivre dignement, ils recherchent le droit à l'éducation, et ils recherchent finalement le droit de vivre normalement comme tout le monde. En Europe, on les bloque, l'Europe n'en veut plus. Ils sont détenus dans des centres de détention en Libye et ils ne restent pas en Afrique parce que pour certains, il n'y a plus d'avenir. Et ils recherchent tous un peu la même chose. Donc, dans ce panel aujourd'hui, on va tenter de répondre à ces questions-là, la question importante de l'éducation aux droits humains comme réponse aux défis mondiaux. Les défis sont énormes. On a une pauvreté grandissante, on a une démographie galopante en Afrique. Les mouvements migratoires, non seulement venant de l'Afrique, mais même ici, au Canada, on a vu dans nos frontières des gens quitter les États-Unis, venir ici, risquer leur vie. Et on se ferme un peu les yeux. On n'a pas encore trouvé de réponse en 2017 pour tenter d'aider ces gens-là. Alors, avec moi aujourd'hui, nous avons un panel très important, très varié. Alors déjà, à ma gauche, on va explorer donc deux questions, c'est-à-dire comment documenter et articuler la contribution de l'éducation aux droits humains. Et évidemment, on va tenter de trouver des solutions, mettre en œuvre des stratégies pour trouver des solutions justement aux défis mondiaux dont nous faisons face aujourd'hui. Donc, good morning. So, Mr. Gilmer, Andrew Gilmer, à ma gauche, he's the UN Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights. He, in his previous position, which he held since 2012, he was Director of Political Peacekeeping, Humanitarian and Human Rights Affairs in the Executive Office of the Secretary General. Since joining the UN in 1989, he has held a variety of positions, both at the United Nations headquarters and in the field, including in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Kosovo, Middle East, and Africa. In recent years, he has served as Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary General in Iraq and in South Sudan, and was the representative of the Secretary General in Belgrade. Thank you for being here, Mr. Gilmer. Julie Miville-de-Chêne, qui est aujourd'hui émissaire aux droits de la personne, aux droits et libertés de la personne pour le gouvernement du Québec. Avant cela, elle exerçait la fonction de représentante du gouvernement du Québec au sein de la délégation permanente du Canada auprès de l'UNESCO. Elle a aussi été présidente du Conseil du statut de la femme durant 5 ans, 2011-2016. Avant cela, elle a été journaliste, c'est mon ancienne collègue, à Radio-Canada pendant 25 ans, où elle a été correspondante à Washington, Toronto, Ottawa et Montréal. Elle a terminé sa carrière dans les médias en étant la première femme ombudsman au Canada en 2007. Et voilà, merci d'être avec nous, Julie Miville-de-Chêne. And Matt DeCourcy, he became a Member of Parliament for the riding of Fredericton in 2015. He's currently the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mark has worked extensively with the youth. He's armed with his unwavering vision for a caring and compassionate Canada. Matt has dedicated years for bettering the lives of youth through his role as Director of Communications, Education and Outreach with the New Brunswick Child and Youth Advocate. Welcome, Matt. Thank you for being here. So, Mr. Gilmer, I'll start with you. You were mentioning just prior to the beginning of the conference, why is it important today to talk about human rights?
It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. And indeed, I'm particularly happy to get the invitation to come here. I've always thought it was important, human rights education, but now there's a particular need for it, and that is what I wanted to say. About 2 weeks ago, I was asked to come up with a quote for the sort of publicity for it, and I said something like, human rights education is always important in terms of for people to learn their rights, but also to defend their own, but also to stand up for others. But now, at a time of growing backlash against human rights, and the first two speakers alluded to this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because from my vantage point at the UN, but also traveling around to many countries where human rights are really, really... Does that mean people didn't hear before? Okay, doesn't all right. Anyway, should I take one of them? Okay. So, the backlash. Now, I'm not sure whether the human rights movement as a whole fully understands quite the extent to which the backlash is confronting us. Everyone knows we're up against serious headwinds, but whether the full extent of the backlash is another question. And so how is that manifested? Now, it manifested, this backlash, in different ways, whether it's at UN headquarters, where there's one set of issues, or elsewhere in the world. Now, the backlash manifests itself in a whole range of ways. One troubling one is the way to which human rights NGOs around the world are getting squeezed. Now, in country after country, Russia, Ethiopia, Israel, Turkey, Egypt, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, country after country has passed laws that restrict the financing and the functioning of human rights defenders and NGOs. This is a major problem that shows how that in a way was one of the first steps of the backlash. Secondly, is the way that courageous human rights defenders suffer reprisals. This is a role that I have a particular interest in. I'm the focal point for reprisals in the UN system, and it's sort of the number of people who are being targeted for cooperating with the UN, for example, just on the issue of human rights. One tragic case that I'm pursuing at the moment, an Egyptian called Ibrahim Metwali, who 3 years ago his son was taken from him, probably tortured to death. He set up an organization for those who have disappeared. And he was coming to see us. I was going to meet him in September in Geneva. He got arrested at Cairo airport under the guise of terrorism because he had criticized the disappearance of civilians. And he too, we believe, has been brutally tortured. That is one example of the reprisals of the backlash. We see it in the scapegoating of minorities of all sorts. We've seen it in Europe, we see it in the United States. Mexicans are vilified, Muslims, of course. I mean, the word deplorable may have lost the US election a year ago, but it's too mild a word to describe the tweets that have come out of the White House this week. And the deliberate whipping up of hatred against minorities is a truly troubling phenomenon. And I think many of us never imagined that we would see this coming from countries like that. We have seen a serious backlash against women's rights in many, many countries. Women are supposed to know their place. Women are supposed to no longer have control over their bodies. We see a backlash against LGBTI, which seems paradoxical, given that there has been such progress in gay marriage in the countries of North America, Latin America, and Europe. But elsewhere, in Russia, in Africa, in the Middle East, LGBT rights have actually gone backwards. So on issue after issue, there is a step back. Counterterrorism, it seems amazing to me, and I've been in the last year to many countries and previously have worked in countries that are involved in a fight against terrorism. But it seems remarkable to me how frequently countries that say they are fighting terrorism do it in such a brutal and bovine way that they end up creating more terrorists than there were in the first place. And again, and as counterterrorism becomes the discourse, the temptation is to squeeze human rights at home. And I saw that in my own country. There was an election. I'm British by origin. And just a few months ago, during the British election campaign, the Prime Minister said that, Theresa May said that it would be, if human rights laws got in the way of counterterrorism, then we just put human rights laws away. Now that sent a terrible signal to authoritarians from around the globe, basically, that even a sort of a major Western leader is using human rights laws as some sort of scapegoat as the failure to deal with counterterrorism. So all these, and I could go on at length, and at the UN, what I see as this backlash, and again it's related to why we need more education on this, it is to present human rights as something that is either an interference in my country's internal matters, which is wrong, as they say, or it's somehow an attempt to overthrow regimes you don't like, or it's an attempt to impose alien values, Western values, on our country that doesn't want it. Or even if you don't use any of those excuses, it is remarkable to me how many people try to treat human rights as just something, as a luxury. You can only have it after you have brought conflict to an end, or brought security, or somehow delivered development. So it's a luxury, they say. We say it's not. You cannot have development, sustainable development. You cannot have sustainable peace unless it's grounded in human rights. So this is the backlash in 3 minutes. What can we do about it? Now, there aren't that many. I mean, it's depressing in a way when we see the enormity of the challenge, how few weapons we have. One is speaking up much more than people have done, perhaps. Two is making a big and all-out effort to defend the defenders, to make sure that those brave, in many cases heroic defenders on the front line receive better support. But the third is human rights education, and this is the incredible importance of this meeting, I believe. Because what we're trying to do is what we need to do, I believe, also. I mean, it's not just for people to have a better understanding of their rights, but to see how, to enlarge the constituency. Because as I travel around the world, I see that it's portrayed sometimes as a niche topic. We defend prisoners as we ought to do, but in countries where there is very little sympathy for prisoners, that doesn't transcend the human rights movement. So, I mean, while in no way losing our focus on particular groups, whether it's LGBTI, people with disabled, prisoners, indigenous, human rights education does need to show to people who consider themselves ordinary people that actually human rights has a relevance for them as well. And we as a movement, I think, haven't yet handled that sufficiently. And as a result, we're on the back foot against the populists, the authoritarians, those who deliberately whip up hatred against other people. So that is what I think we have to really focus on, human rights education learning. It is one of the few tools we have, and the backlash is real, and let us use education as a major way of trying to resist it and to reverse it. So thank you. That was my first answer now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew Gilmore. This is a very passionate topic. Matt, in your view, how important is human rights education to you personally? You've been involved with youth. You've been working also in Africa and Gambia. And how personally you think it's important?
Bon, ben merci beaucoup. Et premièrement, laissez-moi remercier les organisateurs de l'événement aujourd'hui, ainsi que la participation de tous les défenseurs qui sont parmi nous dans la Chambre aujourd'hui. Moi, je suis si fier d'avoir la chance de représenter un gouvernement qui met au centre de tous ses engagements internationaux la promotion et la défense des droits de la personne. Alors, au nom de mon gouvernement, je remercie Equitas puis tous les partenaires qui sont ici aujourd'hui. My view of the importance of human rights education is informed from the diversity of some of the work I had to do before I became an elected official. I've had the chance to work on peace engagement initiatives with young people, with 11-year-olds, exposing 11-year-olds to the diversity that is around them, to exposing people from 11-year-olds from Canada and North America and Europe, to 11-year-olds from the Middle East, from Asia, from Africa. And I think those opportunities provide a foundational opportunity for young people to understand that we are all equal in the human dignity they share, which is the underpinning of human rights doctrine, but that diversity is a fact, that while we are all equal in the human rights that we share, we have unique talents and strengths, and to acknowledge that we are equal, but that diversity is a fact, and that we make a conscious choice to be inclusive and caring and empathetic about each other, is a tremendous foundation from which to learn about, to access, to promote, and for advocate for further human rights. So those opportunities to work on the ground with young Gambians themselves who are educated in basic human rights principles about the importance of access to health, access to education and economic opportunity, to sanitary dwellings, and then themselves using those lessons to pass along the message to younger generations of Gambians, to help overcome maybe the patriarchy of the history of the place. That was an important lesson for me. And then working on human rights and children's rights education within the Office of the Child and Youth Advocate in New Brunswick with partners like Equitas and other civil society organizations, en travaillant à travers nos partenaires de la francophonie sur le développement des meilleures connaissances des droits de l'enfant et de la jeunesse, m'a donné un certain aperçu de l'importance de livrer aux personnes, mais certainement aux jeunes, une connaissance dans les droits égaux que nous avons tous et la façon dont il faut promouvoir et plaidoyer ces droits fondamentaux. So working on human rights initiatives like the establishment of a Child's Rights Education Week across Canada, where young people can learn about their basic rights to safety and security, to their basic rights to have a voice in decisions that are being made in their best interest, to basic foundational rights like non-discrimination, life survival, and development. I see my friend Saw Andrew nodding. Basic rights like the right to play, which is so fundamental to youth development, have been important learning opportunities for me. And I think the more that we engage people in our communities, particularly young people, I'm a firm believer in the not just the enthusiasm and energy of young people, but the special wisdom that young people have to provide to all kinds of decision-making opportunities. I think the better we are with our understanding of the importance of human rights, and I think that translates into better cooperation at an international scale. If we have community members pushing us to recognize the inherent rights of Indigenous people, if we have people pushing us to recognize the rights, the equal rights of the LGBTQ2 community, if we have people pushing us to recognize the equal rights of women and girls and the importance of allowing all those groups to access those rights, not just for social opportunity, but as well for economic opportunity, then governments are in better situations to make good decisions and to be advocates and better partners on an international stage. The bridge I'll make with Andrew's comments is that I think our government understands full well the importance of supporting human rights defenders where they are struggling around the world, and we've been pleased to release guidelines to our diplomats around the world to ensure that they can provide opportunities for those voices at risk. And I know it's been an important part of the engagement of our Prime Minister, of our Foreign Minister, of all of our delegations who travel abroad to visit with and to understand firsthand the challenges that human rights defenders face around the world. So with that, maybe I'll allow Julie to intervene, mais sincèrement, je vous remercie tous de tout ce que vous faites et je veux vous laisser savoir comment essentiel le travail sur le terrain est pour que nous, comme des gouvernements, puissions faire des décisions plus progressistes pour nos concitoyens, mais aussi dans les forums internationaux. So thank you so much.
Oops. I was just saying that Canada is becoming the leader for human rights, and with the situation of First Nations in the country, there, with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Canada could become and is becoming the leader for human rights. Jérémy Ville-de-Chêne, vous êtes émissaire le 5 décembre aux droits et libertés de la personne pour le gouvernement du Québec. Comment votre rôle, quel est votre objectif et quelle est votre ambition avec ce rôle?
Merci Azeb. Alors, je reprendrai peut-être pour débuter ce par quoi vous avez fini, Matt, c'est cette idée que on compte sur vous, sur le terrain, les groupes de solidarité internationale, les groupes de coopération internationale, pour nous dire où intervenir. Et c'est exactement comme ça que le gouvernement du Québec fonctionne. Un gouvernement qui, à la mesure de ses moyens, intervient sur la scène internationale à travers ces groupes de coopération internationale. Equitas en est un excellent exemple, 50 ans d'action sur le terrain, et nous sommes fiers justement d'appuyer des groupes qui font la différence sur le long terme. Ce n'est pas de la poudre aux yeux. Donc oui, brièvement, je suis la nouvelle émissaire du Québec pour les droits et libertés de la personne. C'est un rôle, c'est un rôle tout nouveau. Le Québec n'a jamais eu un émissaire, donc c'est une façon pour le gouvernement du Québec d'intervenir différemment, avec peut-être un peu plus de marge de manœuvre sur une de ses grandes priorités de politique internationale, qui est justement la défense des droits de la personne. Ça a été dit dans sa dernière politique, et deux de mes grandes priorités sont la défense de l'égalité femmes-hommes et la défense des droits des personnes LGBT. Deux dossiers sur lesquels le Québec a une expertise certaine, et donc on en a parlé, il y a des reculs, des ressacs sur ces questions, particulièrement sur la question des droits LGBT. On le voit, c'est devenu un enjeu politique. Certains pays comme la Russie en font un enjeu de défense de leur culture, de leurs valeurs. C'est la même chose en Afrique. Donc, ce sont des enjeux très difficiles. Mais en effet, le Québec s'est doté, d'un autre moyen, parce qu'il y a déjà plusieurs moyens qui sont mis en place pour justement essayer de faire une différence pour un État fédéré, bien sûr. Donc, parmi les choses qui se font déjà et qui sont d'à peu près dans la même veine, on a un programme d'éducation à la citoyenneté mondiale au Québec. Donc, ce sont encore là des organismes spécialistes qui connaissent ces questions et qui essayent de mobiliser les citoyens du Québec, parce que nous aussi, nous avons besoin d'éducation aux droits humains. Alors, il y a un programme notamment qui est fort intéressant, qui est en train d'être mis sur pied et qui veut mettre en valeur les revendications pour le respect des droits fondamentaux des femmes autochtones d'Amérique centrale, et ça va être disponible sur balado-diffusion. Aussi, on intervient à l'extérieur, à Cuba notamment, pour essayer de renforcer l'acceptation sociale des personnes LGBT. Et là-dessus, on a 3 groupes de jeunes Québécois qui ont appuyé les actions de sensibilisation et de formation sur les droits des minorités sexuelles dans la ville de Bayamo. Parce que, vous l'avez dit, il faut aussi défendre les défenseurs de droits, leur donner la capacité d'agir, et c'est là-dessus qu'on travaille. Donc, je vais vous donner peut-être des exemples un peu plus personnels quand je pense aux droits, quand je pense à l'éducation aux droits de la personne. Qu'est-ce qui me vient en tête? Je viens de faire un mandat à l'UNESCO où, bien sûr, au-delà du travail à l'intérieur de l'institution, je sortais à l'extérieur de Paris. Et dans une des banlieues difficiles de Paris, j'ai rencontré une enseignante qui s'appelait Sylvie Lalanne, une femme extrêmement engagée qui avait comme rôle d'essayer de raccrocher des jeunes qui étaient sur le point de décrocher de l'école. Et elle le faisait avec une chose assez simple, me direz-vous, mais quand même, c'était la poésie. Elle mettait autour d'une table des jeunes qui devaient ensemble écrire des poèmes. Et ça semble simple, mais à travers cet exercice, une jeune femme que j'ai rencontrée qui était, comment dire, convaincue que les terroristes de Charlie Hebdo avaient raison, a changé d'opinion, a écouté les autres opinions, a débattu et a compris que les droits de la personne, comme le simple droit à la vie, existaient bel et bien au-delà des injustices qu'elle avait vécues et qui faisaient qu'elle était du bord des terroristes, pourrions-nous dire. Donc, c'est un petit exemple sur la façon de pouvoir changer les esprits à échelle humaine. Cette enseignante, seule dans sa banlieue, seule dans sa classe, peut y arriver. Aussi, en dehors des institutions d'enseignement, il y a énormément de travail à faire. Dans ma carrière, je me suis posé cette question assez souvent, j'imagine vous aussi à Zeb. Comment fait-on pour changer les mentalités? Est-ce qu'on peut le faire? Est-ce que c'est possible? Alors oui, je suis encore ici parce que je crois que c'est possible. Quand j'étais au Conseil du statut de la femme, parmi les choses que j'ai essayé de faire, c'est non pas répéter ad nauseam que l'égalité femmes-hommes est importante. Oui, on peut le dire, mais ça ne change pas forcément les mentalités. Pour le faire, il faut engager la discussion. Donc, dans les choses que je faisais qui marchaient le mieux, parce qu'on trouve tous des recettes pour essayer de susciter l'adhésion, je lançais la discussion sur la question des enfants et sur la question du partage du congé parental, qui est au Québec un bon débat parce qu'on a 1 an de congé parental. Qui le prend? Et à travers ce débat qui met en cause les différences biologiques des femmes et des hommes et qui va au cœur de l'inégalité des sexes, eh bien, on voyait les réponses des gens sur est-ce que les femmes, est-ce que les mères sont meilleures pour s'occuper des poupons? Est-ce que les pères peuvent le faire aussi? Pourquoi ne partagent pas le congé de façon équitable? Donc, toutes ces questions qui ont l'air assez simples permettent de voir quels sont nos préjugés, quels sont nos stéréotypes. Et je me plaisais à dire sur ces questions-là que le jour où les mères et les pères vont partager de façon égale, je dis bien égale, le congé parental, eh bien, il sera très difficile pour un employeur de violer les droits d'une jeune femme et de ne pas l'engager parce qu'éventuellement, elle pourrait avoir des enfants et donc prendre des congés parentaux. Donc, ce sont des petits exemples. J'en rajouterai peut-être 2. Évidemment, dans ma carrière de journaliste, tout comme vous, à Zeb, on a le sentiment qu'on a un peu contribué à l'éducation aux droits de la personne. Dans mon cas, le déclic s'est beaucoup fait quand j'ai quitté le Québec, quand je suis allée en Haïti, notamment de nombreuses fois dans les années 90, lors de l'intervention de l'armée américaine. Et nous mettions en lumière les difficultés du retour à la démocratie, l'insécurité chronique des simples citoyens, la violence, la pauvreté, les prisons bondées, le quotidien extrêmement difficile des femmes et le droit à la vie, qui est pris pour acquis ici et qui est précaire, très précaire dans un pays désorganisé. J'ai couvert le fait qu'un traversier bondé d'Haïtiens avait coulé au large et là, on n'arrivait même pas à récupérer les corps et les familles éplorées étaient sur la rive et attendaient leurs corps. Alors, ce sont des questions de base qui, pour nous, sont comment dire, réglés ici, mais qui sont vraiment, dans certains pays, encore tout à faire. Alors, j'arrête ici.
Merci beaucoup, Julie. Et c'est des questions qui sont encore très actuelles avec
Oui,
tout ce qui se passe
absolument.
en Afrique et les gens qui meurent dans la mer. Andrew, you just got back from Mali. How, in your view, how can human rights education can actually be part of building a more peaceful world? I mean, you've traveled extensively. Like, how would you see it objectively?
Well, I didn't know you'd ask that, but on Mali, sorry. I've just come back. The issue of the Sahel is something that is rightly troubling, and it's not just Mali, it's about 4 countries. And because of the issue of migration and terrorism is one that's rightly concerning Europe a lot, but elsewhere too. What we are trying to do, since there is a growing move to put to fight terrorist groups who have caused tremendous destabilization and vast suffering, it's called the G5 Sahel. It's five countries. They are setting up a force to deal with issues on the border, but what we are trying to do is to ensure that they fight terrorism in a way that's actually more intelligent than many other countries. I mean, I've just been there. My message to them, very much trying to bear in mind the question of la fierté malienne, so not telling them anything that would insult them, but just pointing out that in all the other countries I've worked in, whether it's Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, or Somalia recently, and Egypt, all these countries that I mentioned earlier fight terrorism in a way by committing such human rights abuses and by stigmatizing particular sectors of the population that they create more terrorists. So we are trying to educate first of all the high command, but then we need to get lower than the high command into all the various the gendarmerie, the police, and everything, because my message was you're not going to beat terrorism unless you also beat the question of impunity. Now, for example, there was a report done on very serious human rights abuses carried out by the armed forces of Mali, so badly that the people they've arrested under the guise of terrorism were beaten up so badly that by the army that the gendarmes didn't even want to take possession of them because they thought they would die on their hands from the beatings that they had got. But what we need to educate them, that this is a vital form of human rights education when dealing with terrorism, that if they don't do it in a better way, that they will, not only is it utterly unethical what they do, but actually they will create more terrorists. And there's a particular group of people, the Pearl, it used to be the Tuaregs, and we all know that if you stigmatize a particular section of the population, look what happened, look how the Sunnis felt in Iraq, for example, but elsewhere, if you target a group for particular stigmatization, for particular heavy-handed arrests, then they will become even more radicalized and create even more human rights abuses themselves. So this was something that I was really pushing, and I'm hoping that as a result of being able to show that we have a human rights compliance framework for this multinational force in the region, and also a form of education of all the people involved in it, of the basics of human rights, that we will do a lot better than other countries have done.
Thank you very much. Matt, obviously you're in the government, the government of Canada. How do you think you could actually, when we talk about human rights education, how, as a politician, how can you be involved in making the world more peaceful and encouraging human rights education in countries like Mali, or even people who are coming from migrants who are now crossing the border trying to come to Canada? What Canada's role could be into implementing a more peaceful world?
Small question. So there are two different and I think equally important ways to address that. One is through the policy and the programmatic rollout that government delivers. An important view that we have taken is that our foreign policy should be based in feminism and should be supportive of vulnerable populations, should seek to address inequality with women and girls. Our development assistance policy will focus on ensuring that women and girls have equal opportunity, as do men and boys around the world, and will address primordial human dignity matters like nutrition, health. We know that climate change affects women and girls more adversely than it does men and boys, and so climate change and climate adaptation initiatives will be an important part of that. Working with on-the-ground women's groups in developing countries and in conflict and post-conflict areas is an important part of that. We launched just a number of weeks ago our second 5-year action plan on the Women, Peace and Security agenda as a response to UN Resolution 1325, which will focus on making sure that we engage both military and civilian peacekeepers, that we engage women in the operations of military and civilian peacekeepers, both within our own institutions, but as well as helping our partners around the world increase their capacity to have women involved in conflict resolution, because we know that that makes states much more durable. Another part of, I think, being a public figure and a politician is, again, drawing on the experiences that have helped inform my understanding of the importance of human rights education. And I'll just take 3 quick vignettes at that. Going back to the occasion I had about 9 years ago, traveling with 4 11-year-olds to Norway for an international summer village through the organization CISV. These young kids were put through significant learning opportunities about the importance of peace building by breaking down their preconceived notions of the world and through some really intense simulations, and then having the opportunity to discuss together amongst children from 11 different countries about the importance of being nice to one another, trying to understand one another. Again, understanding the equality of the human dignity that they all share. I think that is an important part of what informs the work that I continue to do in my own community, and it informs my view of how I can influence the policies and the programs that we help roll out. A second one would be working on the ground in the Gambia and watching the power that drama has to engage communities in a better understanding of the basic human rights to which they are entitled. I can remember being out in the bush, way upriver in the Gambia, in a community outside of Basse, which I know Andrew will know of, and we just set up a video screen, played loud music, and within about 45 minutes in the pitch dark, there's a community of 250, 300 people gathered around to watch these skits delivered sequentially in the different traditional languages of the communities of the area, talking about things like early and forced marriage, talking about things like HIV/AIDS prevention and sexual reproductive health, malaria prevention, and the communication methods that young people could engage in to help overcome some of those challenges. And real quickly, and thirdly, would be my experience in New Brunswick working to implement the UNICEF Rights Respecting Schools program in a school in Fredericton, which essentially takes the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and inserts it into the center of all aspects of the operations of the school, from the decisions the administration makes, to the way the home and school and parents and the community are engaged, to the way the teachers teach, to the way that the children and the students get to have voice in decisions that are made curricularly and extracurricularly. And those inform my view and what I'm able to contribute at the table behind closed doors as well.
Thank you very much, Matt. Very quickly, Julie. Alors, ça devait être music to your ears, the feminism. How, in your view, comment vous pensez qu'on peut construire un meilleur monde? Et puis on va aussi faire la 3e question. Comment on peut s'assurer que l'éducation des droits humains devienne une priorité pour les différents gouvernements, surtout dans les pays où on n'a pas?
Bien, bon, c'est une question très très large. Peut-être d'abord sur la question de comment construire un monde plus pacifique. On a réfléchi à cela au gouvernement du Québec et je vous dirais que notre principale contribution, encore une fois à la hauteur de nos moyens, c'est qu'on a fait une conférence sur la prévention de la radicalisation chez les jeunes parce que évidemment, quand on parle d'une société plus pacifique, on essaie de lutter contre la radicalisation et l'extrémisme violent. Ça passe beaucoup par les médias sociaux, mais pas seulement, mais ça passe aussi par l'éducation aux droits humains. Donc, ça a vraiment été, dans la dernière année, un important sujet de préoccupation du gouvernement du Québec. Ça a passé beaucoup par l'UNESCO. Vous le savez, l'UNESCO a une devise absolument extraordinaire qu'il faut quand même répéter ici, puisqu'on parle de monde pacifique. La guerre est née dans l'esprit des hommes, parce qu'à cette époque, on ne parlait que des hommes, là, mais enfin, c'est surtout eux qui font la guerre. Et maintenant, aujourd'hui, comme la guerre est née dans l'esprit des hommes, il faut construire la paix dans l'esprit des femmes et des hommes. Et pour construire la paix, quoi de mieux que l'éducation? Donc, on revient encore là à cette idée que c'est au cœur, absolument au cœur de nos préoccupations. Et je pense qu'il faut faire attention de ne pas faire des recettes toutes faites quand on parle d'éducation aux droits de la personne, parce que c'est un peu ça le danger. Dans les grandes institutions, parfois, on a des recettes. Or, il faut que cette éducation reste non statique. Il faut que les jeunes, parce qu'évidemment, c'est par eux que passe le changement, puissent discuter ouvertement de questions taboues, controversées dans les écoles. Et on dit ça, et c'est pas simple. Discuter de religion dans certains pays, mettre en cause des leaders religieux, mettre en cause une façon de voir certains principes, ça peut être très difficile. Donc, pour que cette éducation réussisse, il faut qu'elle soit accompagnée d'une certaine liberté de penser. Parce qu'on ne peut pas imposer des valeurs. Il faut les faire comprendre, il faut les faire vivre. On ne peut pas... J'entendais quelqu'un l'autre jour et ça m'a beaucoup frappé. L'empathie ne s'enseigne pas. Il faut la vivre à travers une discussion, il faut la vivre à travers des exemples, il faut aller sur le terrain parce que l'empathie, la tolérance, ce sont des bases de justement cette éducation aux droits humains. Donc, je suis absolument, très humble par rapport à ce nouveau rôle parce que comment faire pour améliorer la situation dans ce monde si difficile? Mais je pense qu'il faut prendre les choses petit à petit, essayer de faire des petits changements. Et je vous dirais que ce mandat que j'ai, qui est qui est un mandat féministe finalement, qui est de faire la promotion de l'égalité femmes-hommes, peut, à certains niveaux, me permettre de parler des droits des LGBT dans des pays où c'est plus sensible, en commençant par les droits des femmes. Parce que, pour ce qui est de l'expression de genre, de l'expression de sexe, il y a des rapports entre ces deux enjeux. Et en parlant des droits des femmes, je pense qu'on peut tranquillement aller vers cette acceptation de la différence et la tolérance. Donc, je n'ai pas tout à fait répondu à votre question, mais j'ai essayé.
Vous avez bien répondu, Julie. Merci beaucoup, Julie. So, is human rights education a high priority in societies? That we can see that governments are resisting, whether it's in Africa, Asia. How can we make sure that societies are actually making human rights a priority? Andrew or Matt? Or...
Well, I think that we need to remain vigilant and consistent in our espousal of its importance. There is capacity building that always needs to be done between different countries around the world, and I think that as a government of Canada, we have taken the view right now that we play an important role in helping ensure that there is a greater understanding of the importance of human rights around the world. I mean, we talk about John Peters Humphrey, being understood as the principal drafter of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. I mean, that's something that I take tremendously seriously. Not only is he a Canadian, he's a New Brunswicker, right? So we feel that really viscerally, I believe. And if we can ensure that in all of our engagements internationally, both government to government, within multilateral fora, and also when we have the chance to speak with community leaders, NGO leaders, and human rights defenders, that we both listen to but also share our view of the importance of human rights education and human rights respect, I think we can slowly continue upon that arc of progress, which, as Andrew has spoken about earlier, is wrought with challenges and is wrought with little recules every once in a while. But as a country, as a government, and as I think a group of people in this room, we have to remain vigilant and consistent in our espousal of human rights education and its importance.
Thank you very much.
I mean, Canada is not the problem here. I mean, it is far more advanced in this country than it is in many others. What I'd be saying elsewhere, you need to get your political guys aware of the importance of it. In a democratic country, they must hear that there's a will on the part of the people. As I said, I think in Canada it's much less necessary than it is in most other, even democratic countries, let alone undemocratic ones. But clearly, all of us, I mean, even when and it's not just a question of a little recul. I mean, what I'm worried about elsewhere is much more than that. It's a full-on backlash. What we have to do is from meetings such as this over the next couple of days, is to really see what are the best lessons learned that we can get together and share those, and also find ways of better coming together, because there are definitely power of numbers, and that is something that I hope human rights education can stress in many places. The value of mass or individual or mass action. For example, it was so important down south in January this year when the Muslim ban, when thousands of Americans spontaneously flocked to the airports, including lawyers, to provide help to the people caught up in the Muslim ban. I mean, the value of those actions is huge, and it sent a tremendous signal to the rest of the world, by the way, that there were still human rights values alive at that point, at a really crucial moment, and it sent a message of solidarity. So all of these areas, I think, where, and this conference can come up and list the best possible ways for that.
Thank you very much. I think we have up very quickly, and then we'll take just one or two questions from the public.
Juste rapidement, je crois qu'il faut de la part des États comme les nôtres du courage, de la cohérence et de la persistance pour parler de ces enjeux difficiles. Je pense aux droits des personnes LGBT, où que l'on soit, et d'en parler de façon sensible pour ne pas mettre en jeu des vies. Et par ailleurs, il faut que l'on soit prêt à reconnaître nos propres difficultés dans les droits de la personne, c'est-à-dire qu'aucun État, que ce soit le Canada ou le Québec, n'est blanc comme neige sur ces questions. On n'a qu'à penser à la violence faite aux femmes, les femmes allochtones, les femmes autochtones, aux enjeux autochtones. Bref, il faut à la fois être sur la scène internationale, mais ne pas donner des leçons sans se rendre compte que nous-mêmes, nous avons du chemin à faire.
Tout à fait. Prêcher par l'exemple. Merci beaucoup,
Exact.
Julie. Donc, on va prendre juste une question. Ah, c'était pour Monsieur Gilmer. Oh. How do you think the UN can educate those in the developing world without perpetuating colonial tendencies? That's quite a tough question, but...
Right, and I come from a great nationality to ask that question too. It's actually a very good question, and there are times when I go around various countries, and I know, particularly when there's a repressive regime that was once part of the British Empire, I have no doubt what they're thinking when I'm talking to them, and I try to be sensitive to that. So more seriously, I mean, it's not us educating them. I mean, we want people within those countries to take the lead in it, and that has to be done like that. I mean, it's not so much neo-colonial, but there is in many parts of the world, whether or not it's a colonial thing, the idea of other people telling them how to deal with it. And this is also a great weapon to use against the human rights movement. I mean, China, I don't mind specifying that because they give me the especially hard time on this. Anything to do with human rights in their country is somehow, they claim, is an infringement of the UN Charter, that we are interfering in their matters, and therefore it is illegal. So, but that is an extreme example. Others take the example, Burundi, for example. If you criticize them, they say it's because you're trying to overthrow their regime. So there is this tremendous sensitivity, and whether it's the UN, whether it is NGOs that are from a Western country originally, one has to be very, very aware of that. So it's a good question. One needs the leaders of those countries where there is a big deficit in human rights to understand that there is a will on the part of the people. But the trouble is, in many of those countries, it's precisely in those that they don't really care about the will of their people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. Malheureusement, c'est tout le temps qui nous reste. Merci beaucoup aux panélistes, Monsieur Gilmer, Monsieur Courcy et Madame Miville-Dechaine, et vous, le public qui êtes là, qui travaillez à pied d'œuvre pour faire respecter les droits humains. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été à ce panel. Alors, il y a une autre session qui va suivre à l'auditorium à 10h45. Alors, on peut voir aujourd'hui que c'est un sujet qui soulève des passions. Il y a encore beaucoup de choses qui évoluent. Il ne faut surtout pas laisser tomber le combat. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été là aujourd'hui. Merci.
One final thing that needs to be done. On a remercié nos panélistes. Puis on veut remercier aussi notre modératrice. Alors merci beaucoup à Zeb d'avoir animé cette conversation très stimulante. Merci. Et en symbole de notre remerciement, on voulait présenter tous nos panélistes avec un cadeau. Aussi, on voulait présenter une copie de la déclaration de la conférence que je pense qu'ils peuvent apporter chez eux pour guider leur travail et poursuivre les engagements qu'ils ont pris avec nous aujourd'hui. Alors, merci encore tout le monde.